Hi, Grace. How are you?
I am well. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We're talking about the film A Breed Apart, which I got to watch, and uh, I was pleasantly surprised with it. I mean, I read the log line, and I'm like, what? And then I watched it, and it seems very aware of what it is. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was very fresh, modern take with influencers and everything. So I guess my first question for you is, did you sign on first, or did Virginia sign on first?
I signed on first. And then I said, I'm taking her with me. Yeah, I signed on first. And then Griffin Nathan had the idea that, would you want to, maybe we'll contact Ginny, would you want to have her on this? And because, sometimes you don't know if actresses actually enjoyed working together and they wanted to kind of check and test out the waters. I was going, are you kidding me? Get her into this. And originally she was going to play Collins, my brother, but as my sister. And then as we kind of were workshopping it and trying to figure out, what our dynamic would be, it was a couple days before we started filming, actually, and having to fly out. And I looked at Ginny and I said, I think you need to be Talia. And she said, I think so too. We called Griff, and thank goodness we had Zach in the wings who could jump in as my brother. And I, when we read the script, and I saw, okay, I'm going to be sitting with someone at the end of this movie on a ship, and things are at their worst, and it wasn't going to be Ginny. I went, who's that? Who's going to be sitting in that seat? I can't have anyone else but Ginny. It's got to be Ginny. And she really liked the role of Talia. So it all kind of worked itself out in a really fun way. And I'm so glad that it was her next to me on that boat at the end of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear that it was a very collaborative effort on set in terms of storytelling and finding the characters. Tell me more about workshopping with the other actors. Did everyone else sort of like slide into their roles, or was there more of that shuffle?
Um, I would say everyone else pretty much slid into their roles. When you're casting, we were an independent film to start, so when you're casting something and you're just trying to get uh everyone's schedules lined up, trying to see who you can grab, who's available, who could fit a particular character. I think we got really lucky to have the combination that we have of everybody. And mostly, though, I would say the biggest change was trying to decide if I was going to have a brother, if it was going to be a sister with Ginny in the mix. But Zach actually is a really good friend of Ginny's. And he had just happened to audition separately. Ginny and I weren't involved at all. And somehow he got pulled in and ended up being great to jump in as Collins, my brother. So it was a bit of a family affair. We had a lot of fun joshing around, and I don't know. It was a good time. It was like summer camp.
Personally, are you a dog person or a cat person?
I'm allergic to cats, so I'm by default a dog person. But I also have always had dogs growing up, and I'm a dog person. What about you? Are you a cat person or a dog
I'm a
person?
cat person. In fact, I had to close the door because my cat person is a person and wasn't leaving me alone before this interview. So you might hear her scratch. So
Yeah.
I liked that there was some B-roll as the credits were rolling, and we got to see some of the dog puppetry. How many actual dogs were on set?
Oh, that's a great question because we had a lot. I couldn't tell you the number of them because a lot of the scenes where we had them, running or chasing cars or different days, right? We'd have a few on set or but I don't know. I feel like we had quite a few often. But also only when we needed that many. So sometimes it would be like two dogs on set or one dog for a specific hero shot. And they were so fun to have on set. I know you're a cat person, but it was really fun to get to have such sweet dogs. And there's a puppy in this movie, and it was really hard not to want to take that puppy home because it was adorable.
Yeah, you do have a great scene with that puppy, but I'm not going to spoil it for people. Um, so let's talk a little bit because I don't know if you noticed Batman mug, but we need to talk a little bit about the DC universe. You have famously been in both Shazam films with David F. Sandberg, but there's been a changing of the guard. Do you see a future for the Shazam family in Peter Gunn and or James Gunn and Peter Safran's universe?
I'm not really in those conversations, so I don't know. I feel like we had a really good time getting to do what we got to do, and to get a sequel at all just felt so special. It had been quite a few years from the first movie, so at a certain point you wonder if you're going to get a sequel at all, even though we'd kind of talked about it. So I know for me, I can speak for myself. I got to be in the superhero suit in the second one. It was kind of special for me. I mean, I feel the sort of like won a lottery ticket sort of feeling that I got to have a second movie with Shazam, let alone be in a superhero suit, because that wasn't me in the first one.
Yeah, but you got to step up. You got to be the hero as well as the alter
Yeah.
ego, and yeah, that's got to be a lot of fun.
It was really special. They'd been toying with it in the first one, and I mean I've talked about this before. So they weren't sure whether or not they should have me kind of do both, and I think it really was a good payoff to explain in the first one how the powers work to have brand new, a brand new cast saying, okay, well, they were kids and now they're adults. So it was neat though that they kind of kept it in their mind in the second one. They said, we've wanted you to be in the suit, and we'd like to see you in the suit this time. So, um, yeah, I have nothing but sentimental feelings. Now I'm just reminiscing about good times.
Well, we talk in the bullpen about dream casting, and if lightning were to strike twice, would you consider, say, Wonder Woman in the new DC universe?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't know how that would happen because I those are huge shoes. Those are huge shoes to fill. I think that's something that it'd be crazy to say no to. Is there anyone in history who's ever said no to playing a role like that? I Is there? I don't think so. You would probably know better than I know as far as like lore or but yeah, I don't know. If I would be happy to be in James Gunn's universe in any capacity, whatever that may be.
Nice.
That'd be
You have one more film that's coming out soon that you're working on, The Leader, about the Heaven's Gate cult. Tell me, is there anything you can tell me about that as far as like where you are in production, release date, and how excited you are for that one?
It's a completely different project than anything we've talked about. And I am really looking forward to working with that creative team. It's far more solemn and serious. And, it is like a true crime sort of biopic situation. And I haven't gotten to do one of those before, so I'm scared but excited. It feels like an opportunity to really use my craft, not to be cheesy and nerdy about it, but this is one of those jobs where it's like, okay, time to act and be an actor. All right, all the other jobs you do that as well, but it's just different muscles when it's comedy or it's horror and you're crying the whole time. To kind of dive into more of the historical story with subject matter that is as complicated and heavy as it is. Yeah, it's a different one, but I mean, anyone who kind of looks into the title and the subject matter and the log line that has been released, they can kind of put together what world we're entering.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that is our time. Thank you so much for talking to me, and best of luck. And I hope to talk to you again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope we talk soon too.
All right.